It's time for another game room tour. It's 2025. Let's see what I'm up to now. So, we'll jump right to the retro consoles. This is how they're set up now. So we've got Nintendo over here on the left, Sega here on the right. We've got some PlayStation over here. We've got the CRT setup. I've got some drop cables ran underneath that'll cover any of my component S-video or even composite needs. And then the 4K TV. We've got the PS5 set up, the Xbox One X. We got a Wii U, Switch 2, all hooked up on a Matrix. So the Matrix actually allows me to send into my PC for streaming, and then also to the TV, however I want to do that. And I also have a drop cable for the side for a fifth hookup for whatever else I need. So let's take a look around here. We've got our signage, if you remember that from the old game room tour. We got some signage over here, some new, some old. And then the bookshelf. So on the bookshelf here, let's start on top. So we've got our console, or excuse me, our handhelds. So we've got Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, 2DS, 2DS XL. We've got our two Super Game Boys, Japanese exclusive. We've got our Analog Pocket, Switch 1, Switch 2. And then let's get into some games here. So we've got our GameCube games going into our Wii games, which then the Wii games go into the Wii U games, and then the Wii U games go into our Switch games. And then, of course, starting off on Switch 2. Then getting down here, we've got custom cases for these because I don't have boxes for all these, but Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, into DS, into 3DS, and then a couple boxed Game Boy Advance games on the end there. Down here we've got NES and some boxed games. So we've got some boxed NES games, some boxed Super Nintendo games, a boxed N64 game. And then down at the bottom here, we've got Xbox 360, Xbox One, and a couple mixed in above. Jumping over to this other shelf here, we'll start at the top. So we've got PlayStation 1 into PlayStation 2, into PlayStation 3, into PlayStation 4. We'll get down here. PlayStation 4 gets us into, of course, PlayStation 5. And then after PlayStation 5, we get down to the bottom. We got some Master System. We've got Sega Saturn, one random game here for Master System. And then over here is Japanese Sega Saturn and Dreamcast games. And then a couple odds and ends there above that. So if we back up from the bookshelf and we pan to the left, we've got kind of a tchotchkes shelf here. We've got some Amiibos. We've got our Lego NES set. We've got our Lego Super Mario World. We've got a random Tetris little game here. Some Topps Pokemon cards. This is a Superboy, they call it, that plays Super Nintendo games portably. Below that, we've got N64 games. Below that, we've got Super Nintendo games. And below that, we've got Genesis, Super Famicom, and some loose DS, 3DS stuff. And then below the tchotchke shelf on the right here, we've got our Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy. And then here on the random consoles shelves, we've got the AVS for playing NES games on HD TVs. I have an extra Game Boy Advance here. We've got the analog Super NT, so playing Super Nintendo games on a new TV. And then we've got our Wii, which I've got the Wii U hooked up so I can play Wii games on that, but this is the red exclusive one. We've got a PS3 Slim. We've got just some of my Nintendo Switch Online controllers. So we've got Super Nintendo, N64, and GameCube here. And then down at the bottom, I've got a PS4 Slim, a PS3 Super Slim, and then a PS2 Slim there. So to back up and give you an idea of what that looks like, that's what we were just looking at. So then if we pan to the left, we've gone full circle, but this is where my computer is. This is my stream setup. This is where I do my PC gaming. Like I was mentioning, if I have a console hooked up, it can hook up through the matrix and go into my capture card. So this is my stream setup. You know, I've got Elgato 4K camera. I've got my key lights on left and right of it. I've got the monitor here is for chat, my primary monitor for what I'm gaming on, and then you usually have like OBS over here. We've got our stream deck. We've of course got a cup holder. We got a phone holder. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. You know, controller for PC gaming. I do have a shelf back here that's kind of just odds and ends. So some Nintendo Power magazines, a fight stick that's modified to have button inputs like WASD. There's the control stick for the NES, the Advantage, and then just some random plushies. And I'll do a last pan around here. We can catch some other things I may have missed. We got Bub and Bob there. That's a knockoff Lego Super Famicom. I love Yoshi, of course, so you can see plenty of Yoshi going on. And yeah, we've got a couch here to hang out. You know, this footstool is full of all of extra controllers and accessories and stuff, so that's awesome. Ottoman, I guess you'd call it. The subwoofer that goes with the soundbar. So yeah, that's the game room. Give you another look at the shelf here. Another look from this side. Nice having retro CRT with a nice 4K next to it. My chair is not in here. Normally, I would have my chair in here, but for filming purposes, it was easier. So I guess the one thing I'll ask for comments from you guys is, what should I do with my Guncons? If you remember from my old video, I have some room up here that I could put various light guns, some room over there, and some room down here. I don't want it to be too cluttered, so I haven't really decided how I want to do that. But give me your thoughts in the comments on if I should put the light guns up or just leave it as is. But thanks for watching.